Today's Cosplay Con Talk episode is sponsored by Moco Queen Color Contacts. Don't forget to use my code Wayne for 10% off at checkout at mocoqueen.com. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. How's it, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome back to another episode of Cosplay Con Talk, where we basically discuss everything pertaining to the cosplay community and conventions. As always, we are doing a bunch of segments on here. This time, I'm joined by Chris and MInty, and they are going to be talking about what it's like staffing at con from their own experiences to give an advice for those who may want to start staffing at a con. Starting with you, Chris. When did you first when did you first start staffing at cons, and what was the first con you staffed at if you can remember?
Well, I've been staffing for quite a while. I don't remember the exact year, but my first one was an on-site volunteer for San Diego Comic-Con when they did those back about, I'll say about, you know, early 2000s. And then, as like a plan ahead or planned one, my first convention was like, I want to say 2015 for Anime Los Angeles when it was in the Ontario Convention Center. And I probably will volunteer at about 3, 4, 5 cons a year at this point because it's a good deal.
I
I'll
mean,
leave it at that.
that's a pretty good deal. I mean, the fact that you're staffing at like well-known conventions in California, that's pretty impressive.
As people should know, I was a resident of California for a long time, and I just moved up to the Pacific Northwest a couple years ago.
But I mean, I'm sure the traveling is worth it though.
It can be. I'll leave it at that for now.
Minty, same question. How long have you been staffing at cons for, and what was the first con you ever staffed at?
I've been staffing on and off, more on, since 2015. My first one was actually just passed a little bit ago, Everfree Northwest, in 2015. I worked the cosplay track, so basically I made sure that our cosplay people were happy, and participated in all of the cosplay events. I've staffed on and off at a few different conventions, kind of all over the place. I worked with ECC. I was working with their will call and registration team, 2018, 2019, I believe. And then as of the end of 2021, I am the social media coordinator for SakuraCon. And I also work as a graphic designer at KomoriCon.
Nice. I mean, seems like both of you definitely have to put in a lot of work for these cons.
Yes.
Yeah, it's incredibly rewarding to have been going to cons for so long and then turning around and saying, you know what, it's time that, I pay it forward for the next person.
Back to you, Chris. What was it like staffing at SDCC for the first time over almost 20 years ago?
Well, okay, so my first role over there was as uh, line security for autographs. So essentially, I would they would break up a line so that way so there's a line in front of the table, and then there's a line going to that line, and I was staffing that auxiliary line. So just basically just standing there, making sure no one's cutting in line, no one's trying to move ahead too far, keeping groups together, things that sort of thing. It was basically 4 hours of standing, and then I got the rest of the day as a freebie. So it was, and then again, those tickets were like $20 for a Saturday back
Yeah,
in
I
the
remember you saying something back when we did our, I think, conventions over the year thing. I think it was, or it was one of them.
yeah.
You were saying that SDCC tickets were like super cheap back then. Nowadays they're like what, 200-300 bucks?
I don't know the exact price, but it is up there. Uh, I mean, up until about 2010, conventions were for like geeks and people who just had to be there. Nowadays, even like the volunteer line at San Diego is filled months in advance because people have to get there. So
I mean, work a couple hours, get to roam around the con, and just do the same thing again the next day.
mhm.
So you said you did auxiliary line. I think I saw staff members like that when I went to um SAC Anime 2019. There was like, all the celebrity guests, the lines, to get at their booth, and then like the big long lines to get to where they were going to be go to get your autograph.
Yes, that a lot of people want a piece of the celebrities' time, and you got to keep that in control. And if there's more people than the 50 or so that the primary line will hold, they got to be put somewhere.
No, I think
mean,
I honestly think that's a good idea to have personally, especially with the bigger cons, and especially depending on who's going to be a guest there.
yes.
Man, I can imagine having to stand for 4 hours to make sure, to traffic people.
I mean, people stand to get to those celebrities, so it's like, it is what it is.
I think that's fair. Same question for you, MInty. What was it like when you staffed at your first con back in 2015?
I barely remember it. It was a lot, just because I was a part of organizing some of the cosplay events as well as attending them. So anytime that there was like a cosplay meetup, during the contest or anything like that, I had to be there. So it was very hectic. I kind of felt like I was running around everywhere. But I really did enjoy it. I got to meet a couple really good friends of mine. I got some interesting behind the scenes experience that I kind of knew, but it was kind of nice to have it confirmed of like how the show runs and how different conventions run. But at con, honestly, it was such a blur because it was just there was so much going on with Hard
Yes.
Track, that I don't really 100% remember it outside of just being very tired by the end of the weekend.
Yes. That is a universal feeling when you fully staff a con.
Man, even back end stuff that I really shouldn't need to focus on during con, I'm still focusing on it. And yeah, it's still very tiring even if you're doing pre-con work. There's still a lot of stuff that goes into it. So by the time you get to con, you're like, oh, great. Now I have like 2 weeks and then I have to start doing it again.
Oof. Sound like you guys have a pretty busy schedule when it comes to staffing cons one after another.
Yes. Yeah. It's right now with the pandemic finishing up, uh cons are still short staffed, but then again, cons are always short
Incredibly
staffed.
so.
They're
It's
always short.
it's yeah, it's definitely gotten worse since events have started after the pandemic, though. It's really, really bad.
I mean, I know a lot of people don't want to, mainly like staffers don't want to staff cons because of the fear of getting sick and then, not being able to enjoy the con right afterwards.
I mean, before then, there was a con plague is a definite thing, but it's you have like 20 people who don't take care of themselves, and they'll come to the convention and they're sick, and they're like, well, I just spent X amount of dollars on these tickets and all this stuff. I'm not going to miss out on this thing, and they wind up being patient zero on a number of diseases that are hitting you at the same time. So getting the flu and getting a cold and getting a sore throat at the same time sucks.
Oh, next thing you know, you're bedridden and you can't go to that con, and it
Well,
sucks.
no, this happens during the con, like
The
so
con crud.
afterwards, you might need a week to but that's a side point of this. Staffing is very, very rewarding. You should do it.
Oh, I wholeheartedly from what you guys have been seeing, and I've seen it myself. They seem to enjoy it. Um, which brings me to the next question. Chris, what made you want to start staffing for cons?
uh okay, so Anime Los Angeles used to be this way, and it still is for some people. uh they provide a hotel room for you that you have to share with 4 people.
So
And
you get a free hotel room. Can't complain there.
hotel expenses are always the number one, at least for me, of attending a convention. I mean, travel, food, that takes part of it, but the hotel is always top of that list. And if you can get a free hotel room and you meet three other people who have similar interests to you, that's always a benefit. And then you're working with people who have a similar mindset, and you make friends, and they work other conventions and they say, hey, we liked you here, why don't you come over and join us with this one? So the networking possibilities and the inexpensive or free hotel, or the you know you know just that sort of thing at a time when even 2015, if you were the guy that liked comic book movies or comic books or anime, you were more of an outcast than if you watched the big sports ball game or whatever. So it was that combination of things for me that made me want to start volunteering.
And with the network thing, as I always say, it's good to have connections, but don't abuse them.
I'll never, but
no, like if you get like the chance to, basically, I mean, because let's face it, paying for a hotel during con season is not going to be cheap. I think we all can agree on that.
Yep. And nowadays it's they don't pay for a hotel room, but they have it on discount. Like staff get their own block on occasion, and then it's the same competition to get a room, but it's still it's a lot less stress than having to buy a room as a regular attendee. That makes sense.
Yeah. I can imagine. Minty, same question. What made you want to start staffing for cons?
Honestly, it just looked like a lot of fun at the time. I wasn't really thinking about at the time of, give back to the community. It looked like a lot of fun. Some people that I knew had been doing it, and they kind of peer pressured me into it. But I did enjoy the first time that I did staff. But yeah, it was just kind of this sounds like something that I can do. I get bored at conventions sometimes. I need something to do. And I figured, hey, staffing's a great way to do that. It kills time, gives me something to do, and I can still hang out and see everything.
Plus, I'm sure, like, and also the same question to you, Chris. I'm sure it's like it's nice and also interesting at the same time to see the different side of the con, the behind the scenes, than what
Oh,
you would see as
absolutely.
an attendee.
Absolutely. Even if you're doing a lot more of pre-con work, so you're doing like publicity, you're doing like what I do, social media, the graphic design stuff. You still get to see a different side of that, and you get some sneak peeks into some stuff that's coming up, that the con might be announcing soon. So it's you get to see that different side, but you also get to like stay on top of everything, and it feels really good to have that kind of insider info.
Nice. And I'm sure you can agree with that too, Chris. Is sometimes, nice seeing what the behind the scenes are like compared to what an attendee would see at a con.
Depends on what level you're working the convention. I mean, like
Yeah, that's
like
that's definitely a big factor.
like if you're for example, some cons will have on-site registration, like with volunteering at San Diego, it used to be, where you'd sit in a room for 4 hours and help out with registration, or you'd help out with the info desk, or you help out with some department that always needs a staff member or a person. You'll get you'll get some insight into how those departments are run. And then when you make friends with the people who are actually running the convention, and they tell you, oh yes, so and so demanded extra stuff of this, so now we're in panic mode to go get it, or there is a crisis with an unknown, or with a person whose name I will not mention, that they've caused troubles, blah blah blah. You get to hear, it's sort of like the phrase, you don't want to know how the sausage is made sometimes.
Hey, that's
and,
a pretty good analogy.
and then, but you see how what people have to do at the last minute or even like weeks in advance to get something running. And then, depending on the department you're working at, you see, you get to see like either the thankful side of the attendees or the very entitled side of some of them. It's you get to see a rough outline of the range of human emotion, I guess, with that, which is fun sometimes.
Definitely puts it into
As
perspective.
long as it's not directed at you, I guess.
No, I have to say, con staffers, especially you guys, you guys have to deal with a lot, whether it's whether it's with the guest, whether it's with the cosplayer, the attendees, or other staff members. Like, you guys definitely, and I say that you guys both definitely sounds like you guys both bust your asses at these cons you help staff at.
Oh yes.
Definitely try to.
So, Chris, if you can remember, how many cons over the past 20 years have you staffed at, if you can remember?
Almost 50.
What? That's a lot.
I, like people plan out their cosplays years in advance. I try to plan out my time for attending as many conventions as possible.
Ooh, and you've been to a lot too, because I think you said you started cosplaying since going to conventions since what, the late 90s?
Yeah.
Man. God, I think so far, I mean, not to go a little off track, but you and Brian, the other guy who's been on here, I think so far you two are the only two guests that are on this channel who have been to the most cons and have been going to cons since the late 80s and 90s.
Not late 80s, but yeah, it's
Well, I mean, it's still, 20
Mhm.
plus, 20 plus years. That's,
yes.
oh man, I can imagine what staffing for cons was like back then. I wish I, oh man.
But yeah, it and I try to stay on the ground level. I don't want to be in charge of anything. No.
No one wants to,
When Minty
micromanage.
says that she's in charge of social media, that I'm like, that's impressive that you want to take on that responsibility. Because yeah, don't get me wrong, I would love to be you know an assistant at that level. I don't know, hint hint, but to be in charge of any of the departments, I see the stress of the ones I work with, and I'm like, I don't want that. But
Yeah,
yeah.
the good news is that I'm not like 100% in charge. Basically, I just make sure that things run smoothly. But yeah, it's quite the experience. Overall, just at one point I was just given free reign of just, yeah, if you think it'll hit numbers, then do it. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's try this then. Yeah, it can be a little bit intimidating even if you're just a coordinator. At SecurCon, it's coordinator, manager, everything else above that. So I'm kind of, lowest rung on the ladder as far as that goes. But it still is, it can be quite intimidating sometimes.
I mean, I've seen I mean, have to give props to the social media team. They're the ones who are like having to deal with all the comments, whether they're good or negative, hateful comments about how conventions being ran.
Yeah, that is the part that can get really overwhelming, especially when I'm definitely a here, let me fix it for you. And there are times where we're getting comments of things that I can't fix because it's well beyond my control. So
It's
in
so to
that
speak, it's
point,
above your pay grade, so to
it's
speak.
well above my pay grade. It was a decision that wasn't even made by my director, kind of a thing. So, we can definitely say, thanks for the feedback, but I mean, we're the messengers basically in a lot of a lot of cases of social media. Is we can understand the frustration because we're attendees too. We want things to run smoothly and we want everyone to have a good time, but we're just the messengers at the end of the day.
Yeah, that is very true. Like the question I asked Chris, how many cons have you staffed at since 2015?
Like individual cons?
Yeah.
Individual, like separate event cons, 5 or 6 now.
And
It hasn't been a whole lot, but it's been a lot of repeat years.
all together?
Altogether total, oh goodness.
Don't think too hard. We
Uh
see smoke come out of your ears.
I think I'm counting, I swear. Close to 10. 10 separate years that I have done for different events. Sometimes it just time doesn't work out for me. So, even if I want to staff, it's just I can't take the time off. But for things like the social media and the graphic design, it's kind of nice that I'm able to, even if, maybe I can't make it for a day, I can still help the con run in some way from where I am.
Basically, you're behind the scenes, still helping the con in a sense.
Yeah. So basically I do the pre-con work to get everybody hyped up, and then while I'm there, I still get people hyped up, and then I have to get people hyped up immediately after. but but the good news, the good thing is I can do it from just about anywhere in the convention as long as I have signal, which is nice, but it
let's
still can
face
get
it, conventions don't have the greatest Wi-Fi reception.
No, they don't, unfortunately. Especially the Arch building up in Seattle, which is where I was a lot of the time. But
Preach,
it's
sister,
still,
preach.
oh God. I've been going to that. I've been going there for almost 20 years for cons. It has never gotten better.
And just as a side note, I bet the fact that it was split buildings was a lot of fun for you to deal with on social media.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I remember seeing the comments literally a day after first con, especially people who had to walk in the rain too.
Bless them. I had to do it for in cosplay as well in the rain, which was interesting because I had glue in my wig and the wig would melt otherwise. So that was interesting, but I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one.
Sometimes you have to.
I was in registration for SakuraCon this past year, and I will tell you, I was getting it, and I had nothing to do with it.
It's like I'm just here to help
I'm just handing
you
out
guys your
badges.
badges, basically.
Yeah. I'm
And
handing out badges and I'm putting wristbands on people. I mean, it's
and I get it, sometimes people just need someone to vent at. I totally get it, but yeah, it's very frustrating when, especially like I said, as me, I want to fix this for you person, and I can't fix this because it's either not my department, wasn't my choice, or I'm literally just the messenger, and this is all that I can do.
and I'll be honest. I think the convention did as best they could in the time that they had to organize both buildings. But that's beside the point.
Yeah, that's a whole other story, but
Again, above the pay grade. Back to you, Chris. What's the difference between staffing at a con and just attending a con? It's like, are there any differences in similarities, or what's it been like?
Night and day. Okay, so when you attend a con, your time is your own. So if you want to hit that 10 a.m. panel on the, I don't know, let's make up a topic, how to cosplay at 4 a.m. for the 9 o'clock SakuraCon costume contest.
Ooh.
You can go to that.
it's my panel.
Yes, or you can or you can wait until say noon or 2 o'clock in your costume and go to the photograph where all the photographers are and get your picture taken, because that's what you're into. You have your time is your own. When you staff, they are providing access to a room. They're providing some cons provide meals, some cons provide a t-shirt and some free swag, some cons provide the experience of attending a thing, so you get skills in customer service and how to do paperwork and all these things. For that experience, for that swag, for all that stuff, they are expecting you to put in a certain amount of time every convention to help out and do things. So if you're working registration, for instance, you are stuck in a room for 4 hours at a time, and you have to deal with attendees, and if you are working, say, info booth, you have to be at a station and help with providing information that, you know, some people just don't want to use their phones for the guidebook app or things like that, or, you know, they don't know how to read a program guide that they are provided, or, you know, they want to know, you know, I know I have to go downstairs for the exhibit hall. How do I get there? Or, you know,
I
you
mean,
know,
I'll
things
admit
like
I'm
that.
one of those people who's like, okay, where's this at? Where do I go? And I just have to say that the con staff is very helpful if you're not sure where, you know,
Right, but
like,
usually a good convention will have signage that says follow this and get there. Um, uh, you know, if you're working registration and someone comes up to you and says, "What is the you know, where is the weapons check room?" and you don't know, you know, you're the one who has to go to info desk and say, "Hey, they need weapons check, or they need uh things like that." You know, so, you know, you have to deal with all the customer service and you know, how to deal with people, that sort of experience. If you're an attendee and someone asks you about that, you say, "I don't know," and walk away, you know. Or, you know, you're, like I said, your time is your own, how you want to spend it, versus you are working for the con as a staff member. So you have to be at your station, and you have to do your job, and you have to, you know, hopefully not be the bad point in someone's day, things like that. You know, it's basically, you are working a job, whether you're getting paid in cash or you're getting paid in equivalent, you know, goods and services, that sort of thing. Hope that made sense.
no, that made perfect sense. I mean, well, like you said, with the weapons check, been to a con and they didn't have a weapons check. Luckily, con security was there, and which I guess in a way was equivalent to a weapons check station.
Mhm.
Minty, same question. What's the difference between staff in a con and then attending a con, and your personal experience?
Um, I think as Chris said, it's 100% night and day. Because you go from being somebody who can just kind of meander around con, hang out, say hi to people, stop and have conversations for however long. You can't do that necessarily in most staffing positions. A lot of the times you are bound to a schedule. You know, if you're floor staff, if you're merch booth, info booth, registration, will call like I was, it's all, you have set schedules. You have to be in a certain place at a certain time for a certain amount of time, and then you have that job, and that is all you are focused on. So it's very different of just kind of being, you know, being able to just kind of whiffed around con for however long, versus, oh, I have a job to do on the back end. I have a job to do with this group of attendees. I have a job at this station. It's very different. It's nice if you like a little bit of structure. You know, like I said, I've been doing cons for almost 20 years, and I was just like, I kind of just need a little bit of structure. I need something, you know, a reason for me to be there. And if I can help a community that I really love and I want to see continue to grow, then it's a great opportunity for me to be able to help that community, help, you know, put in what I can, while also still getting to enjoy a little bit of the show.
Nice. Back to you, Chris. So when it comes to being a new, like, whether you're staffing for a new con or beginning to staff a new con, what is training like? Do they train their staffers to prepare for the con and like let them know what they need to do for that said specific con?
Well, yes. So, uh, so let's say registration, which is what I usually do because they always need staff. Um, so they if they have like a computer system, they'll run down like, okay, so you get their IDs and you put their names in the system, or if they have like a QR code, you teach them how to scan it into the system. It some cons are really fast with registration. Other cons are they have to grab the badge and print out a name tag
I'm not
and
gonna say
carry
any
it with them.
names.
Right. But point being is um they will give you training in the job that you're supposed to do. A lot of the big cons that have experienced staff that have been there 5, 6, 7, 10 years, 20 years, they know how the system is run, how it should be run, and they will give you your instructions, and if they need to repeat it, they will. And then they let you go to your station, go to your area, and you figure out the best way for you figure out the best way for you to do that job. That and training probably again, like if it's info booth, it's looking at the manual, looking at the online guide, looking at some sort of reference that says, okay, you want to go to this panel, you have to go down the stairs, out the doors, across the street, up towards
Fight,
Mordor, throw the one ring into the
fight,
caldera,
fight the
go down to the
dragon.
thingies,
Save the princess.
save the princess, jump on the mushroom, things like that. You have to um they'll teach you how to do that, and then you can add your own personal spin to it once you're there. But it is a um training is usually provided. They're not going to give a first time attendee like you have to be the CEO of the con or you have to be the head of security. They're going to give you low level easy position, and if you like doing it, the longer you attend, the more responsibilities they'll let you have. But it is like any job. You're not going to train for a week. You're going to train for a couple hours, but you're not going to that's the sort of thing that you'll have the experience. That's usually the experience of a new attendee
Nice.
or a new volunteer. I'm sorry.
So before I go to MInty, what would you consider for a first time con staffer? What would you consider a low level easy job for a first time con staffer?
Con security, they're always looking for new people. You want to try registration. That's getting people their badges. Usually some sort of information desk. Probably help you out there, or the most convention websites will have a list of what the duties are, and the ones that have like the most openings are usually the ones that are for first timers.
Same question for you, MInty, about con staffing for first time for people who want to do like the cons you attend and everything that you staff at. What's training like for for con staff?
I'm kind of jealous if Chris has gotten a couple hours worth of training before. My experience with registration was, here's how the system works. You just scan it and check their ID. Okay, bye.
All right, we're just gonna throw you to the deep end. If you can swim, great. If not, well, you're on your own.
Hey, I'd already run POS systems before, so it wasn't a huge jump. But yeah, most of my training has kind of been because it's the especially the last two roles I'm in where they're a little bit more behind the scenes. It's kind of sink or swim as far as mine goes. I'm actually currently in the process of working on getting better processes for social media going. I'm working with the board of directors on that. So mine was kind of we'll just see how you go for a little bit. But the training that I did have, a lot of it, like I said, was kind of here's how it works, here's your schedule, okay, bye. But it's still, if anybody does need any help or anything like that, especially in registration, there's almost always somebody behind the scenes to be able to jump up and be like, oh, I know what's going on, and help you troubleshoot. But yeah, a lot of the roles that I've been in have been pretty straightforward, of just make sure people aren't dying and go have fun.
Hey, I mean, I can't argue with that. Same question I asked Chris for the kind of stuff you do for con staff. what would be considered a low level easy job for a first time con staff for what you do?
For what I do, probably something like SoccerCon has, they call it Team Sakura. And basically it is a team that's under the publicity umbrella that goes to different events. And that are
Oh,
so that we
basically
have
promote the
booths there.
con.
Yeah, so it's con promotion. But you go there, you get everybody hyped, you tell everybody about SakuraCon, you get all of their, you direct everybody to the website for registration, you tell them all about it, and then you get more, more anime fans coming to SakuraCon the next
Nice.
year. That's a really good one. I do think that panel staff, panel mods are actually really important and really underrated, and are pretty good for first timers. Basically, you just make sure that panels are running smoothly.
Like
Make sure
this,
that everything
like
is
this,
running.
like this
It's
one.
perfect. Yes. But I know KomoriCon has this, but the line management and floor security are always understaffed. They always need people. And door checkers for 18 plus panels as well. People who check for wristbands or IDs, depending on the con. It's different everywhere. Some cons can check IDs, some cons can't. But just, people that stand by the door, make sure everybody has a badge, make sure everybody can be in that room without there being an issue. That is something that is always really understaffed, is any kind of the security line people management. And they are always desperate for people.
Yeah, no, the recent con I went to this year, Animed for 2023 at the Jackson County Expo. Usually they'll like hire, regular people like you, me, Chris to to do security, but this time they actually were able to hire a security company. I can't remember the name, but it was like a lot of older people being security for the con, which I thought was nice because bigger con, you're gonna need a lot more security.
It's hit or miss. But
Yeah, and
that's a story for another show.
oh yeah. And some cons will have both too. They'll have both a private security and also floor staff, the people who work directly with the convention, and then the actual security company who are not affiliated outside of, oh yeah, Reed Pop is paying us to stand here and make sure that nobody gets stabbed or something. Nobody takes that prop sword they just bought. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's always kind of hit or miss, and it's always different for every con.
Yeah, sometimes it's
KomoriCon,
a.
I think.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good. KomoriCon, I think, has volunteers only, and SakuraCon and ECC this year. As far as I'm aware, for SakuraCon, I don't remember 100%, but I'm pretty sure that there were on-site security as well. And then I know for sure ECC definitely has separate security. They have a security company that comes in as well as having floor staff that just make sure people are
that
being
extra
being good.
protection doesn't hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a venue thing. It's not a convention thing. Sometimes, like for example, the last San Diego Comic Con I attended, which was a few years ago, they had three different security companies handling it because there's just
Ooh.
too many people, and I think there were a couple other events going on at the same time that the normal one got spread too thin, so they had to bring in two others from out of town to help out with it.
Oh,
That sort of thing.
jeez.
That sort of thing happens. But it's usually there's security that will handle for protecting the building and in case of emergency, and then there's staff that will guide people to lines and handle inside inter security issues, con related things, that sort of thing. That's I think that's what you guys were talking about with the
Yeah.
security. So it is but that's it's a per venue thing. I mean, some venues it's like you guys provide the security and we'll just put the minimum out to keep the building safe. So,
Hey, and I gotta give props to security as well. They were the ones that definitely make sure, you know, they keep they not only keep the building safe, but they keep the people inside the building safe too.
mhm.
What is this? Okay. Back to you, Chris. Gotta bring one of the questions from one of the other segments on this series from. Um, do you have any if as long as it's appropriate or semi-appropriate, do you have any con staff horror stories that you can share?
Sir, that is a dangerous question.
That is a very dangerous question because um
Or should I say interesting con staff experiences?
that's almost as bad.
It's a fine line we gotta walk.
Okay, we may have to not probably ask that one.
Okay. Let's just say that there are certain companies, certain sponsors, I won't name any of them, that have certain reputations that uh that especially con security have to deal with. And you also have entitled uh attendees who may want you to bend certain legal rules in order to allow someone who is not of the appropriate status to attend such sponsored events, things like that. That you know, and I will leave it as vague and as specific as that.
That you know what,
Just
that is completely understandable. That's why I always say, if it's say what you can, not what you yeah. MInty, same question. If it's as if I mean if it's the same along the lines as Chris, is completely understandable.
I actually have a fun story. So some cons, this is totally innocent. Some cons have what's known as a con suite or staff suite, and it's basically a room where staff members can go in and the con provides snacks, and it is a suite in a hotel, either the hotel that's hosting the convention or, another one that's close by. And basically it's a room for staff to go in and decompress
Oh, like a
and
green
not be
room.
around people. Yeah, kind of. And there was one time at Everfree Northwest in 2015, the basically the chairs of the con had to have a meeting with one of the guests. I don't know what the meeting was about. But the guests would come through as well. So I got to meet John Delancey at Everfree because he came out and he was like, "Hey guys, I have a little bit before my panel. Who wants a picture?" And I'm like, "Right here."
Who?
So John
Q
Delancey,
from Star Trek Next Generation.
he did a voice in Friendship is Magic as well, so he was a guest that year. And so I got to meet John Delancey and he was really cool, really really nice. He was a little tired, which understandable, with a bunch of 20 to 30 somethings running around
Oh,
going
okay.
crazy, but
I mean, I'll
yeah.
yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I had to look him up because I was like, I don't know who that is.
But yeah, there are some times where being a staff can pay off, or being staff can pay off for that, of just like you get to meet somebody totally random in a staff only area and they're really chill about it. So
And thank you very much, Wayne, for making me feel really old.
I don't want to take the effort of blurring the finger out. um so since MInty basically talked about a fun staffing experience, do you have any fun staffing experiences, Chris?
Um well, see, what's one I can share. So no, I can't share that one.
it
Definitely
always
can't
comes
share
down
that
to
one.
that. Oh, wait, what can I say? Oh
Mhm.
no.
Yeah,
No,
people
it
guests are limited to what they could say while we're recording on this
yeah, it's
segment.
there are some it's meeting celebrities as they're trying to get in is always interesting. One particular anime expo that I had volunteered at, there's a uh I I guess I can say her name because she's so Kaho Shibuya. used to be a Japanese adult film actress, and now she's a cosplayer and a YouTuber and
Oh, I've heard of her.
all right. She works with the Trash Taste crew a lot. Um, and she is very much still looks like the adult film actress that she used to be, but now it's now she's more of a cosplayer, more of a uh, you know uh, internet celebrity, that sort of thing.
Nice.
And it was my job one particular convention to make sure that she was not bothered by she had to wait for a panel that she was running. She was early. Everybody that she was working with was late. So here I am about 50 feet away from this crowd of
Unruly people.
red-blooded American young men, uh, you know, whatever, and I have to stand between them and her.
So you're being security for
I was
a
being
special
her
cut.
guard because, again, they had every security person out in the hallway trying to, not only keep them out but to get the rest of the panelists in. And she's very intelligent, speaks English very well, very nice person, but that sort of like celebrity experience is can happen if you're in the right department. Like there's another YouTuber named Super Eye Patch Wolf or something like that. He makes he's an Australian that was a guest of honor. I got to hang out with him for an hour because he was traveling with no security, no entourage, just him and his girlfriend. And just being normal convention attendees with the guest of honor badge like right in front of them, so and I wasn't a fan of his, but I got to I through the YouTube algorithm got some of this content, and I'm like, oh, you did this video and we talked about it for a while. So experiences like that happen and are pretty common depending on which department you're in. But again, I just need to reemphasize this. If you are volunteering for a convention, you are there to work, and if you get these experiences, it is a bonus. But a lot of it is just right place, right time, things like that. Just
Oh yeah.
put those out there.
Yeah, I know. I take, like you said, right place, right time kind of thing. Now I think I got like 2 more questions. So so Chris, back to you. Out of all the cons that wait, Minty, did I already ask you one of your favorite con moments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
John Delancey.
Yep.
Oh yeah. So back to you, Chris. Out of all the cons you've staff for, excluding Anime Los Angeles, and STC, yeah, that one. What's the biggest con you've staffed for, whether it's like attendance wise or big building wise?
I worked Anime Expo for 5 years as a
Bless.
I worked him as a panel tech, and so it would be panel tech. It's what they call workshops. It's so sometimes you get a panel that is just a guy on stage or a person on stage with a laptop running through like history of like, oh, this is the history of Sentai anime, and this is the the 18 plus panel on censored product. Sometimes you'll have a demonstration like taiko drummers. There's a big taiko group in Riverside.
I've heard of them.
Or you'll have Japanese flower sculpting, or how to wear a kimono, or you'll have a portfolio review, things like that. So you'll need to set up the room for different events, things like that.
Nice.
and then we'd also watch the sound equipment, because some of these sometimes you have to rent audio boards and stuff, and someone has to watch them for the entire event, things like that. So I would sorry, I would, that was my job for Anime Expo, and that's
I mean, as MInty said, bless you for working such a crazy hectic con for 5 years.
it wasn't as bad because I didn't have to do registration, because that's always swamped, and like
yeah.
convention security at a big event like that, people are frustrated and they don't want to listen to they just stop listening to people. So if they like see an opening, they'll take it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I definitely weep for their floor staff and their behind the scenes publicity staff for sure.
Like one of the safe horror stories that I can tell is that when you have somebody who is from out of the country, and they don't have the social structure to listen to a stranger, and if they see a direction they want to go, they will go and ignore you.
Basically, shut up tunnel vision.
And then they're going in a place that they are not allowed, and if they went in there, they could get arrested. And you have to explain very gently that you have to go around this way to get there because this is forbidden. And they either don't understand you or don't want to understand you. They just want to get somewhere else. That's usually a problem, but it's so those conventions would probably be the biggest ones outside of San Diego and Anime Los Angeles. I mean, yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Hey, that's fair. And I also real quick again appreciate you guys, including myself, keeping it PG-13 here because I know sometimes it's not always easy. MInty, what excluding Sakura Con, what is the biggest con you staffed at?
That would be ECC in 2019.
That's
I
up in
was
Washington, right?
Yes, that is in Seattle, Emerald City Comic Con. I worked it was not one of the first years, but it was my first time actually working as a temp at a con, because ECC is ran by ReadPop, which is for profit. So I was considered a temp employee while I was there.
I'm familiar
So
with
it was,
ReadPop too.
yeah, I was it was actually the first time I got paid to attend a convention while working it. Which was interesting, because yeah, I forgot about it, and by the time tax season came around, I'm like, what is this temp agency? Oh, that's right. But that was my first time working registration in that way, and it was very intense, especially come Saturday, when everybody was showing up for will call. I worked Thursday and Friday, and then I popped in on Saturday for a little bit. But those 2 days alone, I'm like, I'm tired. I'm gonna go sleep for a week. Because yeah, I was handling will call, anyone who missed the mailing deadline, anyone who was pro panel, anything like that. I helped them get their badges and sent them on their way. But that was the biggest con that I had ever worked.
Yeah, ECC and ReadPop, they're like, if I'm not mistaken, they're one of like the companies that like get like the really well-known guests.
Yeah, they are one of the bigger ones, so it's definitely a bigger draw. So it draws a lot of people and it draws a lot of guests, which draws even more people.
Yeah, as we're recording this, we're getting ready for Rose City Comic Con, and
Oh, yep.
Oh yeah, because when is Rose City? Because this will come out the second week of September.
Oh, that'll be right on
this will
time.
be this will be the third week of September.
Yep, it's the 22nd to the 24th
Of wait,
of September.
It says September, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, this comes out the second. So this comes out a few weeks before.
No, this comes out the week before.
Yeah, math hard. Can't
Yes.
brain right now. So this is a question. I think if I do this segment again, this gives me another question to ask back to you, Chris. Are there any cons that you would like to staff for that you've never staffed for before?
That's a good question. I hesitate to give an answer because most of the time, if I want to volunteer for a con that I've never done that, I've never been to before. Again, like registration, line control, panel moderation. There's always staff. There's always staff, so it would be, I would like to attend a con on the East Coast just for that experience. Something like a Katsucon or Holiday Matsuri or well, maybe stay out of Florida for the time being. I don't know. But staffing Dragon Con sounds interesting.
I know they're always looking for
in some sort of
staffers.
sadomasochistic way. But one of those like destination cons, just for the experience of being that far away from my comfort zone. But I'm perfectly happy with the cons I do volunteer at, and I hope they keep letting me staff them because I appreciate them.
Can't argue with that. Same question for you, Minty. Are there any cons you would like to staff that you've never had the chance of staffing or just attended?
I think I'm kind of in the same boat of doing something on the East Coast. I've been wanting to go to East Coast cons for a really long time, but travel wise, they're a little prohibiting for me, just cost wise. Travel, lodging, food, all that. So probably something on the East Coast, if I had to. But really, my main thing for me with staffing is uh giving back to my community in a way that I can help it grow and get it healthier, kind of a thing.
And I feel like you
Um,
guys both. I feel like both you guys actually do give back to the community with these cons you do staff at.
yeah, and that's my main drive for staffing. So I try to do stuff of something that's closer to home. So doing soccer con and Komori con, those are kind of like my two home cons. And I want to help make it better. And if I could do that in a way that is visible, that people see, then cool, awesome. But my main thing is definitely giving back to my immediate community when I go in and staff.
Nice. And finally, to end this with the last question, and Chris, what kind of advice would you want to give to those who want to consider on one and being a staff for con?
If you're on that edge of that pool and you're not sure, just jump on in, give it a try at least once.
Just don't hit your head at the bottom.
Well, I mean, don't dive head first, but just give it a try, because no matter what your experience is, you will be appreciated for at least trying. Again, like registration will always need you. Line security will always need you. There are plenty of positions at any con. Komori-con for people in Portland. That's still coming up. They're still looking for volunteers now.
Oh yeah.
Just give it a try. If it's not for you, that's perfectly fine. It's just I can't emphasize this enough. Like, your local con needs you. Just give it a try. If nothing else, you'll have a T-shirt that signifies your experience, and you'll make some friends. You'll learn some skills.
And you'll get a really fancy badge too.
Yes, sometimes,
Yeah.
Just give it a shot. And if you don't like the one department, but you like the experience of staffing, there are other departments that you can staff at. And if you do it long enough, maybe you too will be a director of some.
Plus, it builds up your con staff resume too. So when you apply
It
for
builds up
another
an actual
con,
resume.
Yeah, it
that too.
builds up your legit resume. I've actually been able to put my experience so far, and gotten in the running for different social media and graphic design jobs in the real
Ooh.
world for my job working for KomoriCon and SoccerCon. So it's
Nice.
very worthwhile.
Going back to Chris said about the "We Need You," all I can picture now is like those posters with Uncle Sam saying "We need you," but replace it with like the con's mascot and they say "We need you" for con staff.
No, seriously.
No, seriously, like
That's like it's funny, but that's not a joke. Like absolutely, if you can volunteer. If you are tired of long lines, volunteer. If you are upset at the way that something is being ran and you don't like the way that the person is doing it, or you can just tell that they're super understaffed, volunteer. Put your time where your mouth, put your time where your mouth is, and you'll have a fantastic time and you'll be able to give back to your community and you'll be able to see that change as well,
okay.
which is a huge thing.
Caveat. The long lines we're talking about are the ones for registering inside the convention center, not any for any panels or any events. Being staffed does not get you a privilege at most conventions.
Yes.
Let me just emphasize that.
No, thank you. Yeah, that's not a
put
if
that
you're
little
tired of long lines, staff and you'll be able to jump. No, that's not it. If
we
you're
don't
tired of
we don't condone line jumping.
no.
No.
um no, if you're tired of long lines at registration, or mixed up lines in the hallways, or you don't like the way that people are being yelled at in the hallways for their lining up, or for just hanging out, volunteer, make a difference, make somebody's it might only be one or two people out of like a 20,000 person event, but it's those one or two people who are going to go and rant and rave to their friends about how awesome this staffer was and how they should go to this convention next year. And maybe one of those one or two people will staff next year and make, one or two more people's weekends really freaking awesome.
I wholeheartedly agree. Finally to end this, as I always do at the end of all these different series on this channel, Chris, would you like to know where people can find you on social media in case they want to give you a follow for your cosplays, or maybe if they can run, maybe if they ever get to run into you at con while you're staffing?
Well, okay, so I used to and I still probably do. I'm most known for being a Tonberry for Final Fantasy series. So I'm working on a new couple of costumes that I'm going to run for the next couple of years.
Ooh.
But you can find me, Chris Ferguson, one word. It's how it's spelled in the thing, hopefully. But so it's one word on Instagram. It's probably the best place you'll see my costumes.
Your Toneberry is still probably my favorite. I mean, character wise, I don't like Toneberries because it's one hit, one kill, but I do love your Toneberry cosplay. The fact you got the knife and the lantern's like the best thing. Do you have the tail that goes with that too?
I do not, because that is often a convenience and safety issue.
Oh, completely understandable. MInty, same question. Where can people find you on social media if they want to stay up to date with your cosplays, if they, or if they want to run into you say hi to you at a con?
Yeah, I am on literally anything Minty Poison cosplay. Actually, I will be going to Rose City. I'm going to be getting back on stage again, bringing Polka back, so I am excited to see everybody there.
Looking forward to seeing that. You all know where you can find me. Yeah, that's all I have to say. But yeah, again, Chris and Minty, thank you for coming on to talk about, con staff, your experience and advice, and hopefully those who are watching may want to consider being a staff for your local con, because as I said, your local cons need your help.
Don't consider it, just do it.
Just do it, yes.
Just do it.
Just do it. Volunteer. Make that con even better.
As always, I'm Wayne the Unknown. Until next time, thank you for listening, and as always, thank you for watching.